welcome to the Wheelhouse. The Wheelhouse lives on. This is episode 6.
History.
Still searching for sponsors. You'll notice I have an unmarked coffee cup. Next week, this might have something on it.
It's an opportunity, that is.
Yeah, story to be told. Hi, Kate Bates.
It's good to be back. Gee, there's a lot on, isn't there, Joel?
There's so much to get through today, and it's all good stuff. Let's get right into it and talk about transfer season, because there's been big news for Aussies and your mate Spratty.
Yes, Spratty Blue shoes. Did you know she wore lucky blue Shimano shoes?
No.
Well, you'll have to look in pictures now. She always has these fantastic lucky blue Shimano shoes whenever she goes well.
Wow.
But Spratty Blue shoes from the Blue Mountains in New South Wales, she's been with Bike Exchange, or an iteration of back when it was Orica Green Edge.
Yep.
From 2012, she's leaving after a decade. She's on the move. She's headed to Trek Segafredo.
Yep.
Big news.
An 11-year stint, and also the defection from Australia to America, in a sense.
Wow. Yes, I mean, yes, I suppose you could look at it like that. But actually, there's a lot of history for the Aussies at Trek. I mean, we've got Loretta Hansen there at the moment, Chloe Hosking. She'll be very much at home. And a lot of the Dutch riders, like Ellen van Dijk, is there. She's spent a lot of time with the Aussies as well. So she'll go into a comfortable environment. But some of our best road riders have worked with and raced alongside Ina Totenberg, who's their team director. And she spent a lot of time in Australia herself. I think that Spratty will thrive there. And I think she's had a hard couple of years.
Yes.
She's come back from some really significant injuries. Things haven't really gone to plan as she hoped. And I think for her, it's probably just a last chance to reinvigorate her career a bit before she calls it a day. I mean, this may be feasibly the last contract she signs.
Yep.
Not necessarily, but it's feasible. And I think it's a really brave move for her to go elsewhere to cap that off. It wouldn't have been an easy decision.
She's 34. I just have to ask the awkward question here. She's a leader now. Injury concerns everywhere. She had very serious surgery last September. This year has been disrupted. COVID crashes in the women's tour as well. There's no nice way of putting. Is it too late to sort of to dominate at 34?
No. Annemiek van Vleuten won the Tour de France Femme, 39.
Yep.
Stick that up your jumper.
So you reckon?
No, I don't. I mean, I think you can discuss age, or you look at Valverde.
Yep.
It's probably not the general rule, but I think that there's a lot of athletes that can perform well into, their mid-late 30s. Rachel Neyland's another really great example. She's, I think, my vintage, so she'd be 40, pushing 40, and she's still performing at the top level. So I think Spratty's got some years left in her, definitely. It's just about perhaps doing things slightly differently, given that she's been a bit of a nail, just been hammered for years. Needs a bit of a fresh outlook. But it's big news for Aussies, because there's a lot of people with Orica Green Edge jerseys, with Jayco Bike Exchange jerseys, following Spratty. So, I guess the question is, do they follow Spratty, or do they stay with the team?
Do they stay with the team?
Their loyalties, yes.
It's a great discussion, because we were talking last week about the Bike Exchange drain. She's a figurehead. Amanda
She is.
Spratt.
Well, there's actually a rider from Trek, Letizia Paternoster, that's one of the biggest young talents. She won her first stage of Tour Down Under back in, I'm going to say 2019, 2020. Her first ever World Tour race, she won it. Super talent. She's heading from Trek over to Bike Exchange. So doing a little bit of tag in the middle.
And, of course, you famously didn't catch up with Spratty's father.
I didn't.
At the
no, that's
airport
right.
Yeah,
with Graham. I thought I mistook a poor gentleman for Graham Spratt. I got very excited. It was not him. However, alternate dad, I reckon, is probably still listening, Joel. So shout out to alternate dad.
I wonder if alternate dad has gone out and bought a Trek shirt just to commemorate.
On this news, he should.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amanda Spratt, 2-year deal until the end of 24. As you say, maybe just coming into her prime. Maybe she'll be there for longer. Maybe she'll be there for 5, 6. Can she top the 11 she's been with Bike Exchange? It remains to be seen. It's exciting times. I've got to grab a quote from her. She said, "I still feel young at heart.
Oh.
My move to Trek Segafredo has me feeling like a kid in a candy store, and I like candy a lot."
Did she really say that?
She said
that's
that.
fantastic.
Isn't that fantastic?
Isn't that a bit of perspective, though? Like, I still feel young at heart. Honey, You're 34. You are young.
You are young, yeah.
You are young,
Yeah.
body and heart. But yes, in terms of sporting age, I suppose that's a slightly different thing. And male or woman, you are told that you're past your prime at that age.
Yeah.
You know, it's like poor 30-year-old women, single women with a TikTok biological clock. Like, it's a real thing in sport, in life.
Of course it is.
For women. And so I think for Spratty, that's quite a cool quote.
And look, good on athletes like here who can continue to disprove that theory. Of course, you've got sports science, all those kind of things that are helping athletes in so many sports go beyond what is traditionally thought of as retirement age.
Exactly. And her mum and dad, I'll seal the real Graham.
The actual Graham.
Actual dad. And
Shout out.
mum, Lynn, will be at the World Championships in Wollongong. So we'll talk about all of that a little bit later, but it's exciting to have them all coming back to our shores.
Indeed, sharing the candy. She likes candy a lot. Amanda Spratt, Congratulations to her. This is the Wheelhouse podcast. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Kate Bates is here as well. Let's continue on transfer season briefly if we can, because mystery swirls around Richie Carapaz. We know he's leaving Ineos.
Where's he going?
Kate?
I can tell you, confidentially, the Wheelhouse has not been in contact with him.
I find that difficult to believe because our tentacles are extensive.
Incidentally, we also haven't been in touch with the UCI to gain a Pro Tour license. So the two may be...
It's pending.
There may be some correlation there. I don't know. And the only rumour is about EF Education First. That's it.
Oh, wow.
But they're not strong rumours. But he's got to be going somewhere, because if he wasn't going somewhere, we'd know.
Yeah.
Just like Mark Cavendish, when he wasn't going anywhere, we all knew about it. And, you know, at this point in the season, they tend to be quite public about looking for a team.
Sure.
Which is the next one, Joel. Have you been in touch with Cav? Because I don't know where he's going.
I've been screening his calls because he's been asking for his watch back. I borrowed his watch. I just sorry, I missed you, mate. I'll get that watch, that $500,000 watch back to you. But no, what's happening with the Manx missile? He's up in the air
he's
too.
still linked to EF as well, Education First. Although maybe he's linked there because they don't have a full roster yet, and so people are just kind of pontificating that perhaps that's where he'll go. Or B&B Hotels. So we did discuss that last week, that he may be tripping his way around France in retirement in the Airbnbs.
That's right. Yeah,
B&B hotels aren't the Airbnb, not the same. But post-retirement plan. But no, I don't know. I guess wait and see.
It's interesting. But speaking about evergreen, we were talking about ages and that kind of thing. Keeps on the gift that keeps on giving there. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere.
Yes, look, he's no spring chicken in terms of athletic age.
Yep. All right, well, let's go to Scandinavia because the tour wrapped up. Tour of Scandinavia, 6 great stages. A breakthrough season for Alex Manley continues. A stage win and, more importantly, a podium overall, 3rd place.
She's a legend. She really is. She had an incredible early career on the track, was world champion in the team's pursuit. But anybody who watched her from juniors knew that she had this huge potential, but she was always like the bridesmaid, never the first picked in a team, never the one that had all the lights and glitter around her. But hard to argue that she wasn't the most talented. It's just taken some time. She's so committed and so dedicated. But the other thing she is, and I love this about athletes who take a bit of time to blossom, you know, a few years, they don't come in and make this massive impact. Her strategy is incredible. Her ability to read a race is second to none. And that will get her further than any physical ability. And that's why Marianne Vos wins so much, because on top of this incredible physical gift, she can read a race like nobody else. And so Alex Manley coming through, it's really exciting to see her really make that impact. She did that at the Touringen Tour earlier in the year, albeit not World Tour. And I think for her that changed the game. It gave her the confidence to make the moves when people might say, it's a little bit risky. She stopped riding the safe race. And she easily could have lost the stage she won in Scandinavia if she wasn't so determined. But it's awesome. I think that we're going to see a lot more of her in the next couple of years.
Huge year.
And even by cycling age, she's still very young.
Oh,
so
all
she's not
ahead
even
of her.
30.
Yeah.
I mean, goodness heavens.
Yeah, she's basically a rookie.
Yes.
2 years focusing on track, but coming out of it this year, and it's been a real red letter year. Is that the right expression, red letter? I mean good.
I'm not sure that I've
I
heard
should
that,
have
but we
looked
can
at
run
that.
with that. It works.
A green letter year, a blue letter year, whatever colour
let's
means
go
good.
with red, because the Vuelta's on this month.
Thank you.
Red jersey
There
there.
you go. Fourth in the Tour and fourth in France. She's been in the top 10 in 5 of the 6 stages in Scandinavia as well. So what I love about that is always in the mix.
Consistent.
Says a lot.
Very consistent.
That's exciting. Your mate Cecily. So
Everybody's mate, Cecily.
yeah,
Ultra Bludvik.
a friend.
Ultra Bludvik.
A friend of the
hold
Wheelhouse.
on, wait. She's Danish. That means she's my cousin. I mean, long lost.
She's part of the
tangent.
extended Bates family.
Yep.
She survived a heap of attacks in that final stage, prevailed. Her first ever World Tour stage race victory, very significant for her.
Well, my first and only equivalent World Tour podium on the road was in Australia in Geelong. And I point that out because racing on home soil is incredibly powerful. It does so much. It adds so much if you've already got form there.
Yep.
We knew that she had form at the Tour, very buoyant coming out of that. And I think that home crowd and just how hot Scandinavia is about cycling at the moment.
Indeed, yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Well, we saw it early on. We saw it that I think it was the second stage. They were going along the coast, and the people were just absolutely
They were
flocking,
going
loving
bananas. It was fantastic.
I think the stage 5, the mountaintop finish, prevailing there, forged. I think they call it the Queen stage.
They do.
That's a great
do.
name for a stage.
Yeah, even in the men's racing, they call it the Queen Stage, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, over in the men's side, they were also up in Scandinavia, Tour of Norway, Arctic Tour of Norway, I think it's called. And for most combative, Joel, they had a Viking jersey.
I love that. I
How's
wanted to
that?
ask you about the Viking jersey. Forget about the polka
Yeah.
dots, the mayo.
I take the Viking jersey every day. I mean, what I want to know, though, is do they get one of the helmets with the...
Well, they have to.
I think so.
I remember when I lived in Sydney, just quickly, we used to get pizza from a place called Vikings, and the person would deliver it on the motorbike wearing
Did he really?
the horned helmet. So the motorbike and modified motorbike helmet with the horns. It's like, why would you not do that?
It's worth it just for that.
Before we finish in Scandinavia, I want to talk about Marianne Vos because this is one of the great quirks. I love it. The intricacies, 4 stage wins.
4 stage
But-
wins. She's the GOAT.
She's the GOAT. She's reinforced the status.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You can win 4 stages like she did, but not be anywhere overall. There's not many sports where it happens like that.
It fascinates me, the intricacies and the... I remember when I first came watching the tour and watching Pog sort of sit back a bit on certain stages. Like, he knows what he's playing with. I'm sitting there, go Pog, just run, win it all. It's like, no, I don't need to.
I think it highlights, it's like when sport imitates life, like 2 very different ways of operating just in general. There's
Yep.
some people that want a bit more instant gratification now, and they chase the victories and the highs of that, and other people who can just sit back with the patience and
Yep.
play the long game. And, look, I was never one for the long game, I've got to be honest.
Yeah. Well, no, my nickname is Empty Hospital. No patience.
I like that
Can't
one.
do it. Just can't. So sit there going
I like
hammer
that.
and tong.
Yes.
You just get it done.
Well, and before we do leave Scandinavia, but very quickly, one of the riders who should have been there and could have been very successful, Emily Moberg, who rides for La Col Wahoo, she had a bad concussion and has sat most of the season out. But she's a local, and in fact, her father runs the race, and she wanted to show her support. So she turned up in a chicken suit
Oh, good.
on the bike in a chicken suit. I mean, it's fantastic. I have no idea where the chicken is relevant, but I think it's a ripper.
That's what I'm trying to think. It's not like an
Yeah.
official mascot or anything like that?
No, it's not, but it's, yeah.
Okay, we'll look into that because there could be something around that. Everyone racing in chicken suits could
Give
be
it
a
a
thing
go.
in the not too distant
We'll get you
future.
one. We'll get Merxy onto it.
Well, we saw how cold it was in the tour last year. Everyone was running up. Why not just wear
Why
chicken
not just
suits?
wear chicken suits? Yeah, we'll send that to ASO.
This is the Wheelhouse podcast. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Kate Bates is here as well. Now, I want to move on to comebacks, and in particular the most recent, an extraordinary comeback. The comeback king, Egan Bernal, 7 months ago, crashed into a stationary bus, 20 fractures, 95% chance of becoming a paraplegic. It's nauseating to talk about, isn't it? He's back.
He's back.
What-
Bernal is back.
What's going
There's
on?
a documentary in that. I haven't been on the documentary ideas in a while. It is so good to have him back. I think there would have been a lot of moments from the moment of the accident to right now where he questioned his ability to come back. He would have had a lot of people supporting him, a huge amount of support. But equally, he would have had a fair few detractors.
Yeah.
And he would have had some people, like I'm thinking his mum, who says, darling, you've had an amazing career. It's okay to let go.
Call it a day.
Yeah, like you have to, if you're coming back from that kind of injury and that kind of rehab process, you have to be doing it for the right reasons. And the right reason can be to prove everyone wrong and to prove that you can do it. But that fairy tale doesn't happen every time. So it's just tremendous. It's so good to see him back.
Is that the greatest fuel? Is that the defiance of others' expectations? Is that the greatest fuel?
Oh, I think everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some athletes who are very talented and have a pretty easy pathway. And so for them, they didn't need to be fueled by that.
Yeah.
But there's certainly, I think, mind over matter a bit. And when it comes to injury, major injury, there is definitely a battle within yourself where you have to prove it to yourself. And I think the fitness and health required to be an elite athlete is quite tremendous. And you make a living out of your body. So regardless of anything you want to do, so much of your self-worth is attached to what your body is capable of. And so for Bernal, it would have been a very big part of the journey. And then anybody at all who said, it doesn't matter because you've achieved a lot, that is definitely fuel because it's not about that, the core of it.
It's look, I know it is for me because if I'm with my partner and we're eating pizza and she's like, "There's no way you're going to eat those last two slices."
Oh, you watch me.
Now, I've got a quote. I love this quote. That day, this is Egan Bernal, the journey that I've been on since will be a part of me forever. Something I will never forget. And of course he won't.
It's a bit emotive, Joel.
It is a bit.
It's a bit of a tearjerker.
I admire him. I think he's got a lot of tenacity, as all pro cyclists do, to be fair. But we've seen him struggle in the past and never stops.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that,
it's one of those kind of cliches, like it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at the whole spectrum of an athlete's career, there's a lot more races you lose than you win. And when you step away from it, you have to do so in a way that you're quite proud of the decisions you made along the way. He might never be as good as he was. He may never win another race. But the fact that he's even back in the pro peloton, that should define him as much as the things he's won, because that is just remarkable.
100%. I think it's great. We'll do a special on greatest comebacks. Not today, but
Definitely,
some stage.
yes.
Some stage. I want to talk about the Euros. Firstly, what's the deal?
I know they're a bit odd, aren't they? It's like Commonwealth Games, but no, not really. So it's a continental championship. We participate for Australia in the Oceania Championships.
Okay.
And most sports have it, or a lot of sports have it. It's not a big deal, especially Oceania. It's not a huge, they're called confederations. And so the European Confederation is one of those. But a couple of years ago, they decided to make it a bit bigger and bring all the sports together. Now, it's an odd combo of sports. It's like kayaking, rock climbing, volleyball, cycling. Like they're a really odd combination of sports because only the ones that have this confederated model actually work with it. But it's elevated the status of this for media purposes, and I think for the athletes as well. So they love it. And now if they win, they wear the European champions jersey in the peloton. So if you're Oceania champion, you wear that as well.
Yeah. I thought you wore your Parramatta jersey.
Oh, I wear my Para jersey as much as I possibly
You've got that on
can,
underneath.
Joel.
Yeah. At all times.
Yeah, I mean, it's tattooed down my rib cage.
Oh, good.
It's not really.
Some highlights from the Euros, though, that you wanted to cover. Viviani, road and track proficiency.
He rode road and track. That's like a tongue twister in that. He rode the 207-kilometre road race. He finished 7th. It was in a sprint. Fabio Jakobsen won, which another, we've talked about him throughout the tour when he nearly made time cut one stage. It's like, what a story. What a great comeback from him. So Viviani was 7th. He wasn't too impressed with that. He had a big bowl of pasta, I'm assuming. That's stereotyping given he's Italian. And he went to the velodrome and he won the elimination. He raced that night, less than 5 hours later. It's just mind-boggling. incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what he was thinking when he said to them, "Oh, after I finish, I'm not going to put on an accent.
Go
after
on.
No, after we finish the road race, I'm going to go over and ride the track."
Yeah.
And they would have probably laughed.
I was going to say maybe someone said, no, you're not.
Like, good
no,
on you,
can't.
man.
Yeah.
Alas,
That's
and
incredible.
he won. So there you go.
The two Stefans.
They teamed up. No,
They teamed up. No.
It was an individual time trial, and I loved the Euro individual time trial because Stefan Bissiger and Stefan Kuhn were only 1 second apart for the gold and silver. Only then 8 seconds back to Filippo Ganna getting the third. But such close competition. It bodes so well for the time trials to come. But it is worth noting that it was only 23 kilometres.
Okay.
So most time trials are in the mid 40 kilometres.
Yeah.
So a bit of a short one, but interesting. The Stefans are taking over.
Yeah.
The Swiss Stefans. And it happened in the women too. Marlon Roos, also Swiss.
Okay.
Make good chocolates.
That was
good
a big
watches.
showdown. Ellen Van Dijk and Marlon Roos was quite a hyped showdown. It bodes pretty well for Roos for Wollongong.
Well, Van Dijk's, reigning world champion.
Yeah.
Marlon Roos was second at the Olympics last year and just keeps getting better and better, actually. She's had a great year with SD Works this year. But what I loved about these women is Van Dijk came out before and said, "I'm here to win." Like, no mincing of words, no dancing around it, just threw it out there. Didn't win, and so said, "I'm bummed I got second. See you in Wollongong." Like,
see you in the goal.
Like
I love
evil
that.
eyes.
Yeah.
I love that they're not, saying, "Oh," because what we used to hear from the athletes was, "Oh, I've been working hard. I'll see how I go. Anything can happen."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Come on now." And I love that they're willing to say, "Yeah, no, I came to win.
100%.
And I won or I didn't win, but yeah."
It's great theatre.
They're
Sets
upfront
the
about it.
stage
It does.
for the great heights of, Mount Kira and Wollongong.
Yes.
No, it's really, really exciting. And, of course, Garner, who you mentioned, one that didn't get away for Ineos. He re-signed for 4 years, I think,
He
earlier
is.
this
He's
month
going
as
to
well.
be part of the team for a while.
Oh, there it is. Now, moving along on the Wheelhouse podcast, this has been a big an issue of the week. We're gonna throw now to Nairo Quintana, stripped of his 6th overall tour finish.
Issue indeed.
Tramadol. Tramadol. Stringent denial. First offence, 10 days, which is now probably 8 days to appeal. Still lining up for the Vuelta, or still allowed to line up for the Vuelta, I should say. You've got some thoughts on this?
Well, he's pulled the pin for Vuelta, which is interesting. But I do have thoughts because I think... So, firstly, it's really important to note it's not a doping violation.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing in the WADA code. There is nothing in the anti-doping code. It is part of the medical policy of the UCI. And they say that it is in order to protect the rider's health and the bunch's health. The basis of which is that if you have tramadol in your system, you probably shouldn't be operating a bicycle. Now, I'm not sure I would disagree with that. Everything I've seen on social media, people are writing stories about that one time they had tramadol after going to the dentist and, they were seeing stars. So I think anecdotally, it's not a great thing. But the contention of it is that it's not on the anti-doping list.
Yes.
Where every other opioid is. You can't take endone on the bike. You can't take fentanyl. You can't take this whole slew of drugs that under narcotics, under S7 of the WADA code, are banned.
Oxycontin, that kind of thing.
All that sort of stuff. But tramadol is not on there. And so that's a bit of a quirk because are the UCI saying, what are they trying to do with this policy? Is it about more of a social behaviour? Because I think that's what it is. I think it's about they're concerned that people are misusing the substance for performance enhancement, even though it's not a proven performance enhancement.
Yeah.
But they think by people even pushing the limit with it, they're putting themselves and other people in danger. But it's anecdotal. There is no evidence of this. I think it became a bit of a political football. So regardless of whether it was in his sample or not, Quintana has not recorded any kind of drug violation.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's important to note.
Look, absolutely. I understand the determination to clear his name. Stringent denials. And the bigger question is, you say, substances that aren't WADA banned and aren't performance enhancing, as you say, Where does the line get drawn between behaviour control, pain management?
Yeah, it's really nuanced, because I think on the surface of it, a lot of people say if you're in that much pain, you shouldn't be starting. That's a nice overarching statement, but that completely ignores the complexities of any kind of pain. And, recent research has said that especially chronic pain mostly comes from your brain. And, you can jiggle, for a non-technical term, with your neuroplasticity and work on pain management, but that is a very long-term thing. So to simply have a blanket rule that says, to the effect of, if you're in pain, there's nothing you can do. For anybody who has chronic pain issues, which I would say, I'd go out on a limb and say that there is a significant portion of athletes who have some kind of chronic pain issues, from injuries, from overuse.
Yep.
It doesn't mean they're not fit to compete. It is more of a management thing. There is very little they can take. And in fact, based on everything that is banned in the WADA code, tramadol may be one of the last remedies for those people. Now, I know that we're talking about a small subset, and there'll be a lot of people saying, oh, come on, don't be naive about this. I understand that. But I think that the UCI can't make itself big brother in the ruling of all of that. And it's a slippery slope. I'm concerned about the exclusion of its use of anything medical for legitimate reasons. And that's why asthma medication you can take if you have a doctor's certificate, if it is legitimate. Because you can't say, oh, well, if you're asthmatic, tough luck, you can't be an athlete. I think chronic pain should fall into the same category.
Are we heading toward a time where it's saying, if you're in pain, you're off the bike?
Oh.
And if we are, what does that do for the sport? How many of the best riders are missing?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that you say that because it's so ridiculous that
100%.
It wouldn't work, right? But I guess we're also not suggesting that Quintana has any kind of chronic pain condition. So for him, it may be, why on earth is it in his system? So there definitely are a few sides to it. And the distrust, because from now on, he's a doper. That's how people are going to perceive him.
That taint and the stench of that doesn't go away. And whether it is something, as we were chatting about this before, the trace elements of other things, that whatever it is, I'm speaking about ghosts of the past haunting the UCI, that kind of thing. Nairo was among the riders who had their rooms searched at the Tour in 2020 as well. Has he been on the radar for a while, or is it just caught up?
Yeah, no, he has been. And I think that the UCI in the past turned a blind eye. They knew a lot that was going on, but they felt that the sport, it was like the banks that were too big to fail. Like, these people were too big to bring down. So just ride the wave of it and build the sport on the back of people they knew that were doing the wrong thing. They were completely complicit in that. They can't be anymore, but there's a fine line between where they then go too far, I think, in reputationally painting. Like, every rider gets asked about it still. And it's not fair. But the journalists, of course, they're doing their job to ask about it. And, I think the UCI still lacks in having a robust enough framework around all of that to protect the athletes as much as the integrity of the sport.
It's nothing new. If I may briefly, let's jump in the Wheelhouse time machine. It's 2014. Okay, Michael Barry came out and was quite vocal, saying, yeah, tramadol. Whew. Felt like I had a new set of legs. All the pain disappeared, and I got a little bit of an extra zing from it.
Yeah,
it took 5 years for them to actually work out and apply this policy to it.
Well, and a lot of it came off the back of comments like that, but also it was well known, a secret, a well-known secret, that Sky were using tramadol for not pain management, but, sore leg management, and then countering it with caffeine to make sure that those drowsy, don't operate machinery kind of effects didn't. That's just abusing a substance. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
I'm very wary, and ethically, I think it's a very grey area where any athlete or team seeks an improvement in performance medicinally or with a methodology that is just for that pure purpose. And the example I'll use is caffeine. Everybody drinks coffee. I think it's a bit of a different story when you start taking caffeine tablets and measuring exactly how much you should take. There'd also be people who say, but that's part of the game. Like, use every tool available to you.
Yeah.
But personally, Michael Woods, like, that's so disturbing to me.
Yeah.
Because that's a mentality. That is a broken mentality where if it's not banned, you push every limit. And that's why this will always keep shifting.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because then if caffeine one day does become a thing, the defence is...
It has been.
A cup of coffee.
It used to be. So it used to be banned, like a really small range when I was racing, and you literally had to be really conscious of how much coffee and or other products that may have contained coffee. But ultimately they realised that actually once you have too much, you go over the other side and it's worse for performance. So they didn't need to worry about it. But yeah,
there's a bigger picture too. Nara not being in Spain, and the reason for that being, I guess, the PR, the look, the impact on the rest of the team.
It's not
all
fair.
Of that.
It's actually not fair on the broader peloton.
Yeah,
if everyone's just chasing that. So I think he's done the right thing, whether it was his choice or the team decided. I think that's the right decision.
One to watch. One to watch. It's always a shame to see these kind of stories. This one struck me as extremely, I guess, ambiguous as well. I love my collision sports and my contact sports, painkilling injections, soft tissue injections, corticosteroids, all of that is so common. The argument there's been, if you're injured and you go off the field, you get literally get a needle in your shoulder to cover that, go out with a shoulder feeling better than it did at the start of the game. You hit harder. I don't know. That's okay.
Anyway. I mean, ethically, that's a very fine line as well. There's a whole episode in that's for sure.
Oh, there is. Let's move on. The Wheelhouse podcast. Kate Bates is here. I'm Joel Spreadborough as well. I'm also here. Before we move on, I just want to quickly take a segue because I've discovered something, Kate. It's new. It's this new craze, right? It's called GPS art or Strava art.
Oh,
you might not have heard of it.
That's kind of sweet, Joel. That you think it's new.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. It is cool, but what have you got for me?
No, I'm kidding. It has been around for a fair while, but look, I stumbled across this outstanding piece of GPS art, right? A couple, they rode across 7 countries. They rode 7,250 kilometres in Europe, and they drew a giant bike. We're having a look at it now. If you're listening on, this covers 7 countries from France, I believe, all the way across Germany. Anyway,
how's your geography?
Terrible, yeah. There's lots of mountains. And anyway, they were doing it to raise awareness for how cycling can tackle the climate emergency, which is very noble. Their names, Daniel Reno Kirkhope and Ariana Casaraghi, and their dog Zola went along for the ride as well. There's photos of it on Instagram. It's believed to be the largest piece of GPS art ever created, and as I say, across those 7 countries, France and Germany and all those other ones. Yeah, outstanding photos. But I did a bit of digging. As you say, it's nothing new. There are some outstanding pieces of art out there. You know I'm a Star Wars guy.
I do. Oh, you've got a Star Wars tattoo. I mean, that's giveaway, right?
Uh-huh. I found a Darth Vader. There's a giant Darth Vader. The Dark Lord of the Sith. There's dinosaurs.
Wow, it's impressive.
Vader.
Yes.
There's a sausage dog as well.
Oh, I like the little sausage dogs.
A giraffe.
So this field art is so impressive. And I wonder, I mean, it's done using GPS.
There's the goat. There's a goat.
Goat. That's in Perth.
That's the Voss one.
Yeah, they just need to put a bit of,
that's
may
Yoda.
the force be with you. These are sensational.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of planning must go into these.
Elvis. Now, it got me thinking, Kate, I love art. As you know, I'm a bit of a fine arts guy.
I didn't know that, but I do now. That's good.
Got also loving my riding, so I thought, I'm going to give it a go. And I went for a ride on the weekend, and I clocked up about 69 Ks.
Nice.
And I drew...
It's nearly a record.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an outstanding ride. And I drew a rocket ship.
Right, give us... Oh.
What?
No. Well, if you're listening along and not looking, you will definitely have to jump on the socials to see Joel's rocket.
Yeah.
Are you sticking with it's a rocket?
What else could
I
it
think
be?
your design skills may need a bit of work. There's no takeoff. Oh gosh, I can't say that in an eloquent way. It is a beautiful rocket.
It's a good rocket, hey, and it's ready for launch.
What's
it's on
the little? Looks like you got lost a little bit.
No,
to
that's
the side.
that's the platform for the astronauts to go up and get
Oh,
on. It's like,
excellent.
ready for launch here in Houston. That's that bit.
It's
I thought it out.
You're a genius.
69 kilometres and a rocket ship for your viewing pleasure there. And as you can see, I took 3.5 hours to do it, so I was very careful.
You were very careful. Look, a few little details missing, but let's not labour on those, hey?
GPS art. What a great new discovery. On the Wheelhouse podcast.
Just keep at it.
Thank
Keep
you.
at it, Joel.
I have a few names quickly. The guy that pioneers a lot of the GPS art's called Michelangelo.
But I like that.
Yeah.
That's clever.
What do you think of Pedalhardo da Vinci?
I think Michelangelo is clever.
Cletonardo da Vinci.
I think Michelangelo is clever.
Rembrandt.
Keep moving.
Wait, no, let's not do Rembrandt. Scratch that. Pedal Van Gogh.
Put that in your rocket. Pedal Van Gogh. Go. I like that.
This is yours.
This is
Bike
pedal.
Banksy.
I like. See, Bike Banksy.
You win.
Yeah,
You
thank
win.
you.
Well done. Moving on. Let's jump into the final GT of the season. Vuelta is just around the corner. I'm calling it Australia's push for immortality.
There's a documentary in that. I think, look, it's like a lot of gravitas in that. That's quite
Whoa.
a dramatic name. I like it. 16 Australians.
16.
16. Two who very realistically could take out the Mayo Rojo. Rojo.
Could win. Yeah,
Got to
absolutely.
get a bit guttural with our Spanish pronunciation. If you thought we were in trouble with our French pronunciations, you just wait till Spain. Oy.
Yeah, I'll be generifying with as much as
Generifying.
so going
Is
for
that
the
a
win.
word? I like it.
Well, yeah.
Can be.
I don't know. Anyway, 16 Aussies, 6 from Bike Exchange. We were talking last week about the de-Aussification of Bike Exchange. There's six hopes in there. I want to ask you about Caden Groves. A maiden tour stage win potentially beckons.
I think that he's a very big chance. Interesting will be the dynamic in the team because he is leaving next year. How committed are they to getting him a stage win? Is it about him or is it about the team? I can see it going both ways. You see it go both ways all the time in transfer season. It's kind of what actually makes the Vuelta. One of the really fun things about the Vuelta is often things go a little bit off course because, riders don't support other teammates like perhaps they should. Some people get a little bit offended by a lack of loyalty that they see when riders are on the move. I don't think the Aussies will suffer from that. But, will Caden Groves stick his elbow in or a headbutt into a DSM rider quite as hard as he may have, or Alperson? I do think that that's a consideration.
You're speaking about teams and support. What about Rowan Dennis and Yumbo?
Well,
is he the perfect wingman for Rog?
Yeah, there's an individual time trial in there. So the last stage win that we had at the Vuelta, they were both Rowan in 2018. He won the opening time trial.
Yep.
And he got the Mayo Rojo.
The win.
The red jersey. Let's go with the red jersey.
There you go.
He took that, and he then won the closing time trial that was in the last week.
Okay.
He's got form. We know that he's targeting the World Championships, so this is his lead-in, his form finder. So I reckon that he could be one definitely for the stage wins. But he will be Rog's wingman, and a very good one too.
Yeah. Is it just Rojo?
Is it just
Rojo?
Rojo? Yes.
Well, I'm thinking of red wine.
Ro-
Rojo. Anyway,
No,
we'll work that out. We'll put it up on our
Rojo.
socials.
I don't know. We'll keep working on
You'd
that.
know more than me.
Probably not. And when it comes to this,
All eyes on the Perth contingent now. You spoke
Yes.
before about some overall hopes. Jai Hindley, a chance. I'm going to say a dead set chance at 2 GT victories in 1 year. What would that do for him and for Australian cycling?
well, not many have done it globally.
Yeah.
No Australians have done it. Until Jai, no Australians had won the Giro. No Australians have ever won the Vuelta. To do 2 in 1 year,
Something else.
There's that emoji where the brain explodes. That's what it is.
We speak a lot about the Grand Tours, okay, but TDF here, Vuelta, in a lot of people's perceptions down here, if he was to win 2, so he wins in Italy and Spain, where does it stack up against Cadell 2011 tour?
It's far superior.
Is it?
I mean, I think Cadell himself would say that.
Yep.
If you're on the inner circle of cycling and you're the mega fan and you know a lot about it, you would see it the same way. To win 2 Grand Tours ever in your career, let alone in 1 year, absolutely amazing. If you're slightly on the outside and you are a more casual fan, then you would see the lights and glitter of the Tour de France.
Is Spain the poor cousin?
It's seen like that, but it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be?
No. And, you know, a really interesting element, I think, of even the broadcast side of it, and SBS do a great job broadcasting all of the Grand Tours.
Yeah.
But you'll notice that the quality of the pictures that's delivered for the Tour de France is far superior than the quality delivered for either the Giro d'Italia or the Vuelta. So even the viewing quality is a little bit different. Once you notice, you notice. And I think that really enhances the Tour as well. The colours look brighter. They're not, but they look a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
But ASO took over the Vuelta a couple of years ago, and they've been working very consistently on trying to get that broadcast up.
Yep.
And happy to say that the last couple of years, it's been a lot better. So you've been exposed to it. So now
At
we
a good
can
time.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people really fall in love with the Vuelta. But for Aussie fans, it's hard because of the time zones. It's now the 3rd month block where people have massive sleep deprivation.
Big slog.
Big slog. Yeah.
They could make it more appealing.
They
Some
just
more field.
highlights are on in the morning, people.
A rocket ship to draw on the field as they ride past.
No,
maybe?
look, I think their field art is probably evolved past your depiction of said. Moving on.
Well, I don't know. It's pretty lifelike. Pretty life. Now,
I don't want to put that on social media, Joel. I'm really concerned about what Instagram might think of your rocket ship.
You mentioned the rare territory that Jai could find himself in. Only the 10th man ever to do it, to win 2 in 1 year, in company with Mercksy.
Our Mercksy.
Our very own Mercksy.
One
Eddie
and the
Merckx, Bernard Hinault, Miguel Indurain.
Big Mig, that was his nickname.
Jacques Anquetil. That's rare company. And I just want to talk, we were talking before about teamwork in Spain. Now, Bora Hansgrohe. So if Jai loses a bit of time early and his overall hopes are fading somewhat, is he the type of guy, he seems like he is, to get in behind, I guess, the likes of Kelderman, Sergio Higuita, that kind of thing, and push their claims?
What you're asking is, will he throw a tantrum and
a little bit,
take off? No.
I'm kind of asking that, yes.
He's cool as a cucumber, and he's got a lot of long-term vision. We sort of mentioned that before around Mariana Vos, and do you go for the one-day races or do you have the longer-term vision of these tour riders? And I'm getting excited. I keep whacking the microphone. Apologies if you can hear that. Sorry, people. And the one thing with Jai is he's got a very big long-term vision. So aside from the fact that he's a good fella and if it's not working for him, he's absolutely part of the team.
Yep.
Strategically, you don't really want to be known as the teammate who chucks a tanty and won't support the other riders. Like, it's not good on your current team. It's not good for any future prospects. So even if it pained you, it's the smart thing to do. But he's a nice fella. He would absolutely throw his weight behind. But they've also got Sam Bennett for the sprints. So I actually think that they've considered a few different options for their Vuelta.
I left one out of the list really quickly. Your mate Froomey, 2017, the double.
I know. I'm such a big fan of Froomey. We'll cover him in our greatest comebacks, right? He's got to be there.
100%.
But he had such great form in the Tour.
Yeah.
I wouldn't write him off for a stage win here.
That would be pretty special.
That would be a moment. It really would be.
Let's look at Citroen's honorary Aussie, Ben O'Connor. Now, loved him. He was one of my first, this guy, get a statue up as soon as you possibly can because he's amazing. Now, he tore a glute, pulled out of the Tour 9 stages in. He's coming back. Painful territory. What do you think he can do?
Look, I think if he's on form that he definitely could be on the podium. I think we just need to give him the space to ride into his form and see if it is if his body is good. Because sometimes those small injuries that aren't as obvious take the longest to functionally come good, because you can do enough that your body keeps going, but then it takes quite a lot of work to undo some of your motor patterns and neural patterning and that sort of stuff. So I think that definitely if all is good, but if he struggles a bit, then I don't think we should write him off for his future hopes. I think we should just say, take some time, do the rehab, and see you next year.
You've done a glute. We know you're bummed about it, but just do what you need to do to come back. Thank you. Jack Haig, 3rd overall last year, not partaking.
No, he spent more time on the trainer than he has on the road recently. He's just not ready.
Yeah.
And so good. I'm glad that he was able, because sometimes the teams push them pretty hard to come back, and I'm glad that Bahrain victorious and not pushing him to do that. Not pushing him to be victorious.
Oh.
I'm trying to
barring
keep up.
him from anyway.
Moving on.
You know who won't be there now? This is a bit of sad news, but also a lovely moment, a lovely career. Dutchman Tom de Moulin, your mate Tom, has called an immediate end to his pro career this week. Kate, he wanted to make it to Wollongong.
He has. He's pulled stumps. I think mostly he wanted to end on his terms.
Yeah.
For him, Wollongong was very symbolic. He was the world individual time trial champion in 2017. The same year he won the Giro.
Yep.
He then took quite a big break, a significant career break for mental health, which just shows an enormous amount about his character, that he felt comfortable to do that and be very public about it as well. But when he came back to the sport, his re-entry, if you will, was to get a silver medal in Tokyo. In the individual time trial, and that was an emotional moment. That really got me.
Yeah,
that was so special to me. As a fan, you could see that meant more to him than his Giro victory. It was just one of those moments where he'd proven to himself that he still had it.
Yeah,
and so I think his affinity with the time trial is to finish his career in a fairy tale way with that time trial.
And not every athlete gets the fairy tale finish.
Oh, most don't.
Now he had a shocking training crash last September, and he's basically said it's one too many. My tank's empty, my legs are heavy. Sounds like an Eminem song. Knees weak, arms are heavy. Training sessions not working out as I hoped. I want to ask, because he abandoned in Italy, was the writing on the wall at that stage?
I think to a degree, but I think we always knew, like he'd always flagged that there'd be a retirement. You know, he wasn't going to be Valverde. He wasn't going to be riding, still racing in his 40s or even late 30s. But for him, the World Championships in Wollongong were it would have been such a beautiful romantic way for him to finish, not just on his terms, but on an event that meant so much.
Yep.
He's, 50% of the way on his terms. So the worst thing he could have done is push on to Wollongong and go badly, because that is so much worse than just saying, I've had a fantastic career. I've got nothing to prove to anyone, including myself, which is the most important thing, and I'm done. But I'm bummed.
Yeah.
It's like I don't fangirl much. I really don't. But there's some athletes I just respect so much, and he's one of them. And I haven't seen him perform. I haven't seen him ride an individual time trial in real life.
Yep.
And I would have loved that.
Well,
selfish view.
No, that's okay.
I'm glad for him that he's retired.
You're bummed, but not you haven't torn a glute. You're genuinely sad that he's okay. Good. I want to ask. You went out injured. Is it a case of when you know, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're honest with yourself, yes, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
It took me. I was injured for quite a while. It took me quite a number of months to come to peace with myself that I'd done everything. If I backtracked, I could probably, look back 6 months earlier and think could have pulled the pin then and saved us all a lot of training pain and so on. But I do think that as a rider, for the most part, when your body's done, when your mind is done. It turns into a chore. And I'm not just talking about waking up and not really feeling it for training. I'm like, waking up, these are the moments where you're waking up, you're counting how many hours until you can go back to bed. You're strategizing about how to even get out of bed because your body is done. You can't go training without music or earphones or distraction because then you're stuck in your own head. You won't go training on your own because you know that you won't finish the rides,
Wow.
but you also don't want to go training with anybody because you want to be able to go home if you can. It's a horrible space to be in. And I worry, to go back to the very start where we were with transfer season, I worry that Mark Cavendish is putting himself in a position where he doesn't get to choose his exit. And I think that would be a great shame for him.
Absolutely. With his stats. And on stats, you mentioned 2017 Giro World Time Trial champs, 3 Tour stages, 2 Vuelta stages, 4 Dutch national time trial titles, Olympic silver medal. Congratulations to him. What an outstanding career.
Indeed.
He won't be in Wollongong. Let's finish on the road. No Dumoulin, no Vingegaard.
No Vingegaard. But he's not a one-day rider. So it's very important, I think, to consider that World Championship course design is essentially designed for as many people to potentially win as possible. Not a really specialist course for someone like Vingegaard.
Well, no, more importantly, you had planned a big barbecue, a big family
reunion.
And
It'll have to be
brushed you.
Cecily and I, Madame Uttrup Ludwig. But it's a month to go, Joel.
Yeah.
All the volunteers are lined up, I believe. They're starting their training on the weekend, which is very exciting. Next week, the team is named, the Aussie team. So that'll be something for us to debate with people, whether they made the right decisions or not, throw some selectors under the bus or congratulate them. Let's not preempt what might happen. But some pretty exciting stuff happening in that month countdown.
We were talking about Alex and Amanda Spratt, of course, earlier.
Yep, 2 that we hope to see there.
Yeah, riding into form. Now, quickly, Anna Meek, Von Vleuten.
Yeah, she
Present.
is. Yeah, I mean, every social media post, I'm getting ready for Wollongong. And there's very few things that she's ever said, this is my goal, that she hasn't achieved.
Oh, dear.
So
Ominous.
It might be the Magpies. We'll have to give them a magpie warning pack.
Well, can attest that part of the world, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
We'll do a magpie cautionary episode.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Very soon. Kate Bates, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Can you believe it? 6 episodes.
6. Onto the Vuelta sleep deprivation for the next month. So Godspeed to us.
Bring it. This is the Wheelhouse podcast. My name's Joel Spreadborough. Kate Bates is here as well. We'll see you again in a week or so.
In a week.